Hi, welcome to California. I'm Carol Grazer, the Program Manager of PathPoint, overseeing the CSEPT and the Innovations Grant. As you know, PathPoint, California was one of 4 states chosen for the Innovations Grant. I'd like to share with you today our keys to leadership. Our project is called OWL, Older Workers Leadership. Through classroom workshops, participants are learning practical skills such as how to organize and lead meetings, public speaking, teamwork, and advocacy strategies. I would now like to introduce our OWL leaders to you, leaders of Northern Central Coast of California. Come on in and let's see what's happening inside.
Want to invest in these resources and give them knowledge, new and new tools and supports and camaraderie and food and a little dinner and a celebration at the end. so that these older people who are in our program, they can start to speak out for all older people in this part of the state. But anything that they think is important to the community, is important to other older people. It's a very ambitious program, but I think so. Let me just stop right there and ask if anyone has any comments or questions.
Yeah, I have one.
Sure.
Obviously, thanks to organizations such as SSAI and through Congress and on down the road, the obvious thing is that people 55 to the point of up to 65 were not working for whatever reason and obviously needed some assistance getting back into the workforce, whether it be training or just reacclimation or whatever. And this program is helping do this, and I'm sure I speak for everybody in this room when I say how grateful many of us are, all of us are, for that. But you kind of can't help but wonder, with everything that's going on politically, what do you see in the future for SSAI? Is it going to continue to grow, do you think, because of the baby boomers? Or are we looking at any kind of other political turmoil coming up that we really need to get in and look at some lobbying?
Well, that's such a great question. And not surprisingly, it's coming from Casey, who handles the payroll. I take it to speak for many people.
Yeah.
Well, and this is one of the things we talked about when I was meeting with our partners in Alabama. And I think this, let me just cut to the chase. The good news is that the appropriations and the support on both Republicans and Democrats in the Congress is extremely deep and strong for this particular program.
Educate our community, because North Santa Barbara County as a whole is not.
As old people, we have got to tell that story. If we don't tell that story about what Meals on Wheels is supposed to do, what it does in our community, then who's going to tell it? We deserve them for those programs to be cut if we don't tell that story.
Right.
So, yes.
There's another issue though.
I think the real opportunity you have is to really be advocating about those things that are so fundamental about winning respect and dignity for older people in the community that it ought to be automatically viewed as the right thing, that both elected officials on from any party, as well as people in the community will say, this is a good program that government money ought to be spent on. That is to give older people themselves, giving them the support, encouragement, training, so they themselves get to speak for what they think is right. on the wide range of issues. That is why we funded this program. Because you, in your research and developing a proposal,
I think the idea now is we are no longer I, we are we.
Meaning this group?
Let's see. And pay attention to today's media. I'm not saying everything you see on TV or on radio is correct, but doesn't mean you have to accept all of it. But what I do keep looking for is what topics keep popping back up. If it happens enough times, then I think that's something to think about. If 3 times in a month or 40 times in a month. It starts out 3 times a month, but it keeps coming up more and more, and I say, there's a place we, and I say we, actually all of us, we ought to get out and catch up with those things and find out, is there a role there for me to play? Is that going to affect my life? Who knows? It'd be nice to learn before it really hits. That's all I say. So that's part of the value of looking ahead with this stuff.
So these are some serious numbers. So when you begin to see more and more, as we have in the last decade, senior issues on the front page of the paper, this is not just because that we know we're growing older. It's because the rest of the world is becoming concerned, the rest of the nation in particular, but is concerned about what are we going to do about all these old people? And then it's us, right? Exactly. So, good government, and we do have the possibilities for better government. And UCLA has produced their research policy people have put out a survey. They did a big survey. They've done a lot of research, and they've come out with something called the Elder Economic Security Standard Index. I want you to go home today having learned something new, cutting edge, and this is it, kids. What?
Being in a group of senior citizens like myself, who are funny and spirited and smart and committed to being actively involved in a program like this. I mean, I'm sure you could find other things to do on a Saturday once a month, but you chose to be here. You chose it out of a sense that this is something valuable for you and for your community. And I just want to commend you for that level of commitment. We at Senior Service America is unique. Probably many of you may have a very innovative, very creative program that is attempting to prove that something that we hold as a cardinal principle of our work at the Senior Service America, that older Americans are ready, willing, and able to explore new frontiers, to give themselves to new experiences, to serve their communities, to give back to their communities and to the society as a whole. And you know, there are few like this in the country. I'll tell you that.
It's perseverance, guys.
Persevere, right.
Perseverance. And write some letters.
Yeah.
Find out
Where's
who
it?
Who do I
write to?
Ask Milton. Who could write to?
To me now, because I'm just seeing you now after this phase 1 getting fired up, which is good, okay? I'm seeing it now. You're thinking, you know, what can we do to make that change? And remember, you're the first group making this change.
My whole state.
Ellen,